Enough! Okay, that's enough.
Ya pues, cuando termine ya nomás. Yo cuando venga, ¿qué pichas aquí?
Give thanks to God and my topic for this lesson is the love of God.
John 3:16. He said that. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life.
In the scripture, God sent his only Son to the world, so God loved the whole world that he gave his only Son. So whoever will believe in will not
Buried.
God. Yeah. And have the eternal life. And we now go to Romans 8:35.
What was the verse from? Sorry.
Romans 8:35. You can see it?
35.
Romans, the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 35. We read, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword?
Okay, so in this scripture, it's saying that nothing could separate us from God's love because God's love is really powerful and he loves us so much. And we can look to Ephesians 5:25.
Ephesians 5:25.
Reading those small books.
Oh, like,
What?
which one?
Ephesians 5:25.
Ephesians 5:25. Ephesians 5:25.
Which one?
You want me to find it for you, bro?
Is that right here?
And another thing, read it.
You said you wanted me to look for it.
No, because you keep asking for it, so I was saying, let me help you find it.
Ooh, you're struggling. 525.
5:25. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her.
In scripture, God saying that love your wife just like God loves the church, and the church is us who God baptized and loves God, like God himself. And we can go to Matthew 22:37.
2237.
Yeah.
Oh, I got cold. Matthew 22:37.
Matthew 22:37.
Can Sister Mary read it?
22:37. Jesus answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind.
Amen. God saying that with you love your God with all your heart, with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. We'll go to First of John 4:18. First of John 4:18.
It's ready, yeah. Hey! How do you come over here?
Is it just reading?
It was 4:17.
4:18.
18. For you have had 5 children, and not one whom you now have. Is that the right one?
First John.
First John.
Not John.
Not John.
First John, not John.
No, Erick teaching about having 5 husbands.
I don't know.
Oh, is that how you
Sister
feel?
Jocelyn.
Do you want to have 5
Give me your-
husbands?
I mean, give me your Bible. She said, give me your husband. 4:18, right? Okay. There is no fear in love. Perfect love casts out fear, for fear has to do with punishment, and though your fear has not been perfect in love.
I'm looking for it. It says here, the love, there's no fear. Without love, with the perfect love, it takes the fear away from you. We'll go to John 14:15.
14:15.
Four.
And Alexis read it.
It's 14:15.
14:15.
It says, if you love me, keep my commands.
And he says here that if you love God, you shall keep his commands, and if you love him, you keep his commands and you will not break it. The thing is here, if you love God, you have to do his commandments.
Okay.
And we go to 1 John 3:16.
That's inside.
3:16. So we're gonna do 3:16.
Go, go.
First John 3:16.
First one. First one.
You can have Carlos read it.
Yeah, gotcha. I have it here. What's the difference?
There's a Gospel of John, and then there's at the end, there's First John. So both, all of you guys are just read it off the
This is how we know. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us. And we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters.
He says here that just like God loved just like God loved us so much that he put his life for us, we should do it as well, just for our sisters and brothers. Go to Romans 5:8.
Romans 5:8.
It hasn't been. Sure. But God demonstrates his own love. What?
Frank.
Oh, did you say Frank?
Yeah.
Sorry, bro. I'm having a hard time hearing you. I'm sorry.
He was looking at me.
I think he was. I think he was looking at you. What was it?
Romans 5:8.
5:8. But God demonstrates his own love towards us, and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Hello.
Okay, here it says that
Yeah.
even though we were sinners, God still loved us and he died for us. And this is the love of God that he gave to us. And that's all.
Brother Erick,
Jenna didn't read.
Translate. He did.
I really like that last verse that he read.
Oh,
Can you read it again, Danny?
These notes.
It says, but God demonstrated his own love towards us, in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us.
Can you guys capture what that means?
He died for us even though knowing that we were all sinners. Like he basically died for the atheist.
He
died
did.
for
Yeah.
the prostitute.
For
the
The
Muslim.
Muslim.
The people that even don't believe in him. Imagine somebody giving their lives for somebody that they don't even know.
Like Iron.
Actually, that brings me to a good point. I was watching this movie. I've seen this movie a lot of times. Have you guys ever heard of the movie Saving Private Ryan?
No.
No.
It's a war movie, and in this movie, it's about World War II, I believe. So there's this guy. His name is Ryan. I forgot what his last name is. This is what the whole movie is about. His name is Ryan, and Ryan has 4 brothers. Sorry, it's 5 of them total. His other 4 brothers died in war. They were all in war at that time. When they drafted people, if you were 18 and over, you were taken to war automatically. So almost everybody here, well, the majority of you guys would have gone to war. And this was a war where a lot of people died. So this guy Ryan and his 4 brothers, they went to war. His 4 brothers died without him even knowing. So they sent a battalion of about maybe 10 men to go find Ryan, because there was no cell phones at that time. This was in 1940 something. There was no cell phones. You couldn't text Ryan and be like, hey Ryan, we need you to come to the office because we need to tell you something. You know, the way that they got messages across was either telegrams, or you got telegram was just, if somebody gets the message, whatever, the letter, and they got to take it over there by person. So they sent a battalion of about, I want to say 10 men, I don't know exactly how many men there were. In the process of them looking for Ryan, all of them, almost all of them died. One by one, they were all dying. And then I remember in a scene where one of these guys is like, why are we looking for this guy, you know? Why are we trying to save somebody's life who we don't even know? We just lost like 5 men already, and we're over here risking our lives for somebody that we don't even know. That's what what Jesus Christ did for us. He risked his life. He didn't risk his life. He gave his life for us. We don't know who he was. We had to come to a point where we had to come and meet him, where we had to come with an encounter to him. You know, he knew us even before we were born, but still he gave his life for everybody. You know, before you even knew who Christ was, he already knew he had a plan for you. He knew that you were going to be in this class today. He knew where you were going to be at a certain day. He knew you before you were even born, before when you were in the womb of your mother, is what it says in the Bible. He already had a plan for you. He knew what you were going to do. He's not going to force himself into your life and force you to follow him. He's gonna come in nicely, knock on your door, which is your heart, and ask to come in. It's up to you to let him in. But can you imagine somebody giving their life like that for people, you know, and like in that movie that they don't even know? There was a purpose behind it, because they were trying to send this guy home because his parents were just lost. They got a telegram saying, you just lost 4 of your kids, there's only 1 left. So the government felt bad, you know, it's bad that at that moment they felt bad. All 4 of them died, we got to save the last one. You know, but all of these people, they ended up, I think one person ended up making it, and it was Ryan himself. All the people that went out to go look for him, they died. They gave their lives for this man to go home and be able to go see his parents, you know. And then for him to find out, hey, your brothers have died too. Can you guys imagine giving your lives to somebody that you don't even know? Would you give your life for somebody that you don't know?
No.
Raise your hand if you would. It's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. I'm not saying that that Jesus doesn't know us, but yet he still gave his life for us, knowing that we were sinners, knowing what he knew that we were going to do. He still had that compassion inside of him. God still said, I'm going to send you out there to die for them. He suffered. It wasn't just like, oh, let's put him away quick, you know. He suffered when he was in that cross for us. He suffered on his way carrying his cross. I don't know if you guys have ever know how it went, but he had to carry his own cross. Can you guys imagine carrying a piece of wood like that?
While being whipped.
While being whipped. While people were spitting on him.
Rocks.
They're spitting, throwing rocks at him. You know, it's something that he had to do for us. And he was at that moment, he was flesh and bones. He wasn't Jesus who he is right now. You know, he came to the earth in flesh and bone to give his life for us. So he felt every whip that was given to him, all those rocks that were thrown at him. You know, while he was up in the cross, they poked him with their swords. They made fun of him. Can you guys imagine that? Imagine you being at center right here, and we tie you up to this pulpit right here. We start throwing things at you. We start making fun of you. We put a crown of thorns on you. You know, that's what he did for us. But even though we know he did that for us, we still doubt sometimes. You know, we still do stuff that we're not supposed to be doing. You know, we think that he doesn't see what we're doing. He knows everything. He knows what we're thinking. He knows what's in our hearts. He knows what's in your heart right now, whether you want to be in this class or not. He knows that. So let's think about that when we go home tonight. Like, he gave his life for us. Imagine if you had a kid, bro, you giving your life for your kid's life for somebody that you don't even know.
Okay.
Imagine giving cocoa up, bro.
No. Okay,
Exactly.
I don't like this.
So let's think about that, dude. Any comments, questions, concerns?
You don't like
Anybody want to add anything?
I don't like it.
Anybody want to add anything?
I do want to add, because I know that a lot of the times we don't think about it. We just think, oh, God is God, and who cares because my parents go to church and stuff. But I want you to read this with them. Everybody turn to Matthew.
I'll read it. It's okay. I want you guys to listen.
Just listen.
Listen to every word that I'm about to say. Listen to it closely. Analyze it. If you want me to stop and so you can understand what's
If you
going
want
on.
to write it down so that way maybe when they get home they can read it. And funny thing is that Brother Frank's talking about this. I had just read this today and I was talking to him about it. And it's a lot, like I've said, a lot of the times we don't think about it. We think, okay, well, I just come to church because my parents make me, or I just come because I get to hang out with my friends, or I get to see certain people that I want to see. And we never stop to think about this. Matthew 6, 22 to 34.
25 to 34. So I'm going to read this. Just listen, close your eyes if you want to.
But pay attention to what it says.
But please pay attention. If you do anything today, just pay attention to what I'm about to read. So it says on verse 25, so I tell you, don't worry about the things you need to live. What you will eat, what you will drink, or wear. Life is more important than food, and the body is more important than what you put on it. Look at the birds. They don't plant, harvest, or save food in barns, but your heavenly Father feeds them. Don't you know you are worth much more than they are? You cannot add any time to your life by worrying about it. And why do you worry about clothes? Look at the wildflowers in the field. See how they grow. They don't work or make clothes for themselves. But I tell you that even Solomon, the great and rich king, was not dressed as beautifully as one of these flowers. If God makes what grows in a field so beautiful, what do you think He will do for you? It's just grass, but one day it's alive, and the next day somebody throws it into a fire. But God cares enough to make it beautiful. Surely He will do much more for you. Your faith is so small. Don't worry and say, what will we eat? What will we drink? Or what will we wear? That's what those people who don't know God are always thinking about. Don't worry, because your Father in heaven knows that you need all these things. What you should want most is God's kingdom and doing what He wants you to do. Then He will give you all these other things you need. So don't worry about tomorrow. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Tomorrow will have its own worries.
Something that a lot of the times we don't think about. We're too worried about when our next meal is going to come, what they have for talento, when I'm going to get a new pair of shoes, when I'm going to get new clothes, when I'm going to get new parts for my car, when I'm going to get a car. We don't stop to think of, how everything's provided, or appreciate how everything's provided. I feel like as humans, we take a lot of things for granted. We don't stop. It's like the saying says, we don't stop and smell the flowers that are in front of us. We're too fixated and showing off what we have sometimes, or getting the latest and best things that everybody has. And we don't stop to think of, why we have what we do have. When Brother Danny was teaching his lesson, it stuck with me, and it's something that I talk with Brother Frank all the time, that God provides what we need. And sometimes we confuse what we need with what we want. Oh, I need those pair of shoes, but do you really need them, or do you want them?
Hello.
I need that new car part. Do you really need it, or do you want it?
Hello.
A lot of the times we say we need a lot of things, but in reality, we really don't need much. We need a roof over our heads and food in our belly and clothes on our backs, and that's pretty much it.
What do you need, Alexis?
Everything else is luxury.
What do you need in your life?
Alexis needs to pay attention.
He needs to get rid of that phone.
See?
He needs to open his eyes.
Sister Letty showed me this verse today, and I'm not gonna go into detail why, but I told her, "Wow, you're mean." She's like, "Why?" Because you slapped me in the face with this verse.
Oh, dang.
You know, I was thinking last night. You know, we were up late and talking, and we were talking about something. Like I said, I'm not gonna go into details about it. But today, I was sitting down working in the living room, and she came up. She's all, "I want you to read this." And I read it. I read the whole thing, and she's just standing there looking at me, and I'm like, "Wow, you're mean." She's like, "Why am I mean?" I'm like, "You just slapped me in the face with this." You know, a lot of the times we as humans, we're human. We're gonna doubt sometimes. It's hard to always have faith because of what we see around us. You know, it's hard to always expect everybody here to behave, and when they do behave, we call you guys out, and you know, it's a little hard to see that, you know, but we're humans. I understand it because I was once your age. And I once, you know, didn't pay attention in class too. But a lot of the times it takes from us to really stop and think about the situation and stop and think about what God's trying to do in our lives. A lot of the situations that we go through are for a purpose. There's a reason that we go through why we go through.
Now, and like I said earlier, maybe we come to church because our parents make us, or we think it's fun, and we've never really stopped to think of why. And these next few verses to me, it's scary to think about. Because I feel like this is a lot of us right now, when we don't take things seriously for God. I was just talking the other day to Pastor about this incident that happened to me. I was part of the worship team when I was in the other church. And I know that for you guys that are in the worship team, I always tell you guys, stay prayed up, stay ready. There's this one service that we were having, and we were having a prayer and worship night. And this lady visited, and I didn't mind her. You know, I saw her, and she stood out because she had like this really red, like kind of like the couch red hair. And I saw her.
Mind you, when we did these services, all the lights were turned off, so it was
off.
dark.
Yeah. Except for like the very back, there was like very dim lights going on. And that day she decided to sit in the back, and everybody that, you know, all the worship team, you know, you can see the whole congregation. And we were singing and we were praying, and you know, I looked at this lady for some reason, and she had this like evil look in her face, and she was just laughing. And at the same time that I see her, I'm trying to focus, and I feel like something was pulling me down, and it scared me. I was like, what is going on? You know, it distracted me. I was just like, this is not, you know, this isn't good, this isn't God. Like, this lady was literally like, even like the look in her face, it was just evil. It was just the craziest thing, because I had never seen anything like that. I'd never experienced anything like that. You know, and I started singing, but I started praying in my head, you know, like, God, take control, God, take control, you know, and at that point, like, I could still look at her, and I could still see, you know, what she was doing, and she was full on, like, laughing, cracking up, while everybody was, like, you know, praying and worshiping. And then at the end of the service, she comes up to the pastor, and she shakes his hand and said, oh, you did a good job, but her face was totally different. Her face was normal. And that, to me, I was like, well, that's crazy, because, you know, she was coming to church, but she wasn't there for any good intention. And that made me think of these next few verses that Brother Frank is going to read, because, like I said, this sometimes it's a lot of us when we come to church.
So this is Matthew 7:21 through 23. Again, you guys don't have to go there, just listen. If you have to close your eyes, close your eyes. I want you guys to listen, pay attention, and analyze.
Really think about this.
So 21 reads, it says, not everyone who calls the Lord will enter God's kingdom. The only people who will enter are those who do what my Father in heaven wants. On the last day, many will call me Lord, and they will say, Lord, Lord, by the power of your name we spoke for God, and by your name we forced out demons and did miracles. Then I will tell those people clearly, get away from me, you people who do wrong. I never knew you.
A lot of people think that they're doing good and that they're doing God's work, but in reality, we're not. You know, that's why I said, boys in the back. Alexis, can you come sit over here behind Danny, please?
Actually, have Carlos sit right here, please. Thank you, bro.
You know, like I said, a lot of the times we try to tell you guys this stuff to warn you guys of the outcomes of stuff. You know, what happens when we try to go under our own understanding? What happens when, you know, we think that we don't need God? Think about like all these people in the Bible that went against God. What happened to Saul, King Saul? Who remembers what happened to him?
He buried priest.
But what else? He died. He got replaced. Why? Because he was going against God. A lot of the times we don't see consequences to the things we do because we think, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, the other day, Damar sent me a video from TikTok, yes, and it was a guy. It was a guy that went to church and they asked him, like, if you die, do you think you're going to heaven? And he's like, yeah, I'll probably be the first in line because I'm the nicest guy around. And they're like, okay, well, let me ask you, have you ever lied? And he's like, no. And then, are you sure? Like, okay, well, yeah, maybe I do say a little lies here and there. And again, these are things that we think maybe it's not wrong, but in reality it is, you know. And then they're like, oh, well, have you ever committed adultery? And like, no, I would never cheat on my wife. And here comes, you know, this girl calls him and he's like, oh, hey. And you know, it's like that. Even that is committing adultery. Like I said, God knows your heart. God knows your mind. God knows your thoughts. And when we have these bad thoughts, these bad feelings in our hearts, like that is, you know, going against God. And as young kids, as young adults, as youth, we don't see any wrong in it sometimes, but there is wrong in it. You know, and that's why, you know, I tell you guys, like, we don't want to be here and be like, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, you know. But at the same time, we want you guys to think about it. Think about before you do it, before you say it, before you think it. You know, a lot of the times, you know, we start with a little lie, and then it becomes such a big issue. It becomes such a big lie that, you know, other people get involved, other people get hurt. You just don't know what you created with that little lie, when all you could have done is just, you know, kept your mouth quiet and not said anything. You know, you just don't know what you could say, what you could do to somebody by starting a rumor, by, you know, poking fun at them, by making fun of them. You know, it's something that as young kids, as youth, as young adults, we don't see no harm in it. But we don't know what we're doing to that person. You know? Actually, Jill, can you cut the camera? I'm gonna tell him something, and I don't want to use names, but I know that you guys will probably know who I'm talking about. But I was telling Brother Frank